Okay, so now we are live on YouTube.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to the webinar on production and processing of horticulture crops. And this initiative being taken by Mizoram University. To say something about this university at the beginning, it is NAC A-graded national university in India, located in picturesque hill state of Mizoram at the realm of Northeast Himalaya. This program has been conceptualized by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Samba Siva Rao, to have such webinars and to provide opportunity to the students prima facie, and at large to have virtual platform of interaction with world eminent scientists and academicians working and contributing to the domain knowledge amidst this COVID-19 pandemic situation. For today's program, we have invited students, researchers, scientists, academicians, NGO workers, extension workers, progressive farmers, entrepreneurs, industrialists to join the webinar. Today we have two very renowned personalities in horticulture research from USA and Malaysia with us for the webinar. The first speaker for this today's webinar is Professor Girish Kepanikar. He is the Director of Conservation Research and Professor at Alcorn State University, Mississippi, USA. He is the Certified Professional Agronomist and Certified Crop Advisor for last 15 years. His federally funded research center has the world's largest C-factor data bank on horticulture crops with work done over 45 crops at an investment of more than 6.5 million US dollar. His lectures are being podcasted globally by the American Society of Horticulture Science, International Society of Horticulture Science Belgium, USDA, E-Organic, and E-Extension. For his consistent and enormous research contribution to horticulture science, his name is included in the Hall of Fame of Agriculture, Who's Who in America and Who's Who in the world, and made him recipient of Pride of India in 2011. He will be speaking on introducing medicinal fruits and nuts, particularly blueberry, muscadine grapes, and pecans on the hill stations of India. Sir, warm greetings, and we welcome you on behalf of the academic fraternity of Mizoram University. The session is all yours now.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, good morning. Good morning to the Westerners and good evening to the Easterners. I'm very glad to be here today. Really very glad. I've been to India several times, but this information goes all over India, even to other parts of the world. At a time, almost 7.7 billion people locked inside and consuming almost 40 billion vegetarian livestock. So these livestock, vegetarian livestock, and the 7.7 billion human beings, our farmers all over the world, they are feeding. So here comes the greatness of our great farmers. I remember when I was doing my BS Agriculture Science, the University of Agriculture in Kerala State, University of Agriculture in Kerala, my extension professor used to tell the backbone of any country in the world, they are the farmers. And we are so lucky that we deal with them and we educate them. They are doing a great work. Now India feeds 1.3 billion people. And India is exporting to every part of the world. And there is no country in the world now without Indian groceries. So even though I am in the US for so many years, we are eating Indian food coming from India. So when I look at it in that way, you can see there are certain areas when people talk about coronavirus, the solutions, come to the major one, the first vitamin found out in the world, vitamin C. And India is a blessed country with all kinds of different climatic zones, tropical, subtropical, temperate, semi-arid, arid. We have everything there. We have high ranges, we have deserts. So we can cultivate different kind of crops for feeding the livestock, feeding the humans and the birds. And there are some slides I'm going to show when we talk about organic agriculture. First, actually started in India. If you look at the statement of great people in the world, Roosevelt, this is what he said. It destroys himself, those who are destroying the soil. So any research we do, anything we cultivate, it is on the land, on the Mother Earth. And we have a duty to make sure that the greatest mother, the Mother Earth, that is protected in every step. Because soil erosion is a big problem. The soil goes to streams, to the rivers, to everywhere. And that pollutes. The pollution going on. Sorry, I forgot to share the screen. I think I forgot to share the screen. I forgot to share the screen. I hope everybody can watch me. Yeah, I hope everybody can see me now. Yeah, the screen, can you see the screen now? We have somebody said. Yeah, so here comes the greatness of the Mother Earth, and we have a duty to protect. And we are specialized in the C factor cover and management research, how to cover the whole land, any crop you cultivate. So cover crop research is going on, but anything we cultivate, even forest, ornamental trees, vegetables, fruits, nuts, spices, and condiments, anything we grow that covers the Mother Earth. So our specialization is the cover and management. Any crop when you cultivate, how much area it covers, how much it protects the soil. When they die, we eat the edible portion. The inedible portion, how fast they decompose, or what time the nitrogen from the preceding crop is released for the succeeding crop. So we have done a lot of research on 45 crops, and here I'm presenting only 3 of them I'm mentioning because India has all these climatic features for raising these crops. And Indian farmers, they prove they are the smartest farmers in the world, feeding 1.3 billion. Now, blueberries. People talk about coronavirus and pneumonia created by coronavirus. But blueberries and cranberries, they are sisters. The blueberry 1 pound here is $10, 1 pound. That is in India it is kilogram. That is 2.2 pounds make a kilogram. So my presentation goes to the east and the west. So I have put kilogram and pound. So make sure, please remember that 2.2 pounds make 1 kilogram. So 1 kilogram of blueberry is $22. It comes to almost 1,700 Indian rupees. It is in high demand. It's not available. And blueberry, the second highest content of antioxidants next to blackberries. And blueberries and cranberries, they can prevent pneumonia. But still in the US, blueberry is the biggest producer, US is the biggest producer, US is the biggest exporter, and US is the biggest importer. And that blueberry, still it is in high demand. And this is one of the crops I want to introduce because it is a highly medicinal. It is a vitamin C content of the organic blueberry. See, and our blueberry is number 1 now. because the method I apply is not my method, not your method. It is not the method of anybody living now. It is the method of our great-great-grandparents. They used animal waste and plant waste. Before 1930s, before the discovery of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, weedicides, nematicides, fungicides, before the discovery of all chemicals, our great-grandparents used only animal waste and plant waste. And they learned from the forest. Look at the forest all over the world. They are green. The animal waste, thousands of birds, thousands of animals, and the leaves shed. So compost is always produced in forest, and all forests all over the world are green. The same technique I applied here, and now my blueberry is 83% higher in vitamin C than any other blueberry. So we can apply the same technique. Farmers are using it all over the world, local farmers. Even those who don't know how to write their name, the farmers, they know how to produce the best food in the world. Now, this program was established, and this is one of the oldest universities in the US, established in 1721. And this is, we are located in the southeast region, the subtropical region. Many crops cultivated here, we are cultivating in the subtropical region in India. So we collaborate with so many countries, so many universities. We have research programs. They visit us. We also visit. I have been to 26 countries so far. So I learned a lot. And I could discuss with several people, several countries in the world. And here comes the problems. Health-related problems. Last year, every year in US, more than 500,000 people die. More than 500,000. More than 500,000, including 45,000 ladies, breast cancer. So when you come to the fruits and nuts, these are the only two food items in this world, fruits and nuts. We, the human beings, can consume without cooking. Without cooking means we get 100% antioxidants, minerals, vitamins, everything from fruits and nuts. And those are the two items, those are in highly demand. At the same time, they are very, very expensive. People cannot afford. All these were introduced after 1930s. Things have changed, polluted the whole system. When we leave this world after 100 years, when our great-grandchildren come, they will find this world totally polluted. They will never find any place to get a single drop of clear water to drink. And they will never, ever forgive us. We have done that much damage to the system. So here comes the importance of organic agriculture. Now we have almost 500 POPs, persistent organic pollutants. They are in our bodies. In the US, as I mentioned, more than 500,000 people die. When people die all over the world, people talk about cancer everywhere. Our great-grandparents' time, they have never heard about those things. And here, more than 45,000 ladies get killed because of breast cancer, when young boys, testicular cancer, and nitrates from chemical fertilizers, infants, the disease, methemoglobinemia, that kills. The babies go on sleeping, they will never wake up. It was first discovered in Eastern Europe. Erosion is a big problem. Because of the carelessness, the soil goes to streams, to the rivers, finally to the ocean. And the ocean level is rising at the rate of almost 1 centimeter per year. After 100 years, it will rise to another 100 centimeters, that is more than 3 feet. Cities located in beaches all over the world will suffer. When our great-grandchildren come after 100 years, none of us will be alive, and they are going to face problems. And climate change, we can create climate change. We can destroy climate. I created a microclimate in the corner of my research station. I planted melons. Now I'm harvesting. So we can create microclimates in some areas using forest trees on both sides. And the entire program of research is to keep the Mother Earth healthy and the inhabitants healthy. And the program we started long ago, it was started in USA in 1954, Universal Soil Loss Equation. The Soil Conservation Unit in India, they also get information from us. It goes to all over the world. From my project, it goes to 193 member countries of the UN. And when you talk about the different factors of erosion prediction, the C factor, the cover and management factor, the most important one. And we were asked to work on the vegetables and fruits and horticulture crops. And when we talk about the medicines, people consuming more horticulture crops, they are healthier than people who are consuming non-vegetarian food items. It was also noticed that the all vegetarian animals, the herbivores, they are healthy, they don't have much cancer, but the carnivores, they get the problem. So among all these factors, the most important factor is the cover and management factor. So any crop we cultivate, we use this for this research program, and we have to inform the farmers what is the spacing, how much area it covers. So it covers the total leaf area index. We had to do the destructive harvest. Every 15 days, we had to cut down, especially when it comes to vegetable crops. The fruit trees, we destroy 15 to 20 years. We take it out to see how many pounds, how many tons of dried residue the plant returns. Then how much biomass goes back to the soil, including the root system. Don't throw away anything. Everything is usable. Then the residue, if you apply a surface or subsurface, how fast they decompose, what time they release the nitrogen back to the soil. So the shoot system and the root system, till and non-tilled. And legume, hairy veg, one of the best legumes. It grows in the cold season. In the winter time, this legume can be cultivated as a cover crop. It fixes almost 180 pounds of nitrogen per acre. And we have challenges here. And the United Nations has already mentioned these are some of the problems we are facing. If you look at the total area, 2/3 of the world's surface is ocean, and 1/3 we are using. Out of that 1/3, 1/3 is deserts. The desertification is going on very fast. And livestock raising is going on. And pollution, major problem going on. And phosphorus and nitrogen animal waste. And we developed a program, we were working with the US Army. So we have developed a new fertilizer that which I am presenting here. And here, the intergovernmental panel, look what is going on. The crop rotation, the farming systems, design, nutrient and manure management, livestock management. The solutions are only the organic production, conservation of soil and water, and managing plant nutrient scientifically. It's not easy, it's very scientifically. Even the animal waste can pollute. And transition is there in organic agriculture. There are tough rules and regulations. If you're applying chemical fertilizers, you can convert your plants into organic. So there's a transition period for 3 years. So for 3 years, don't apply any chemical fertilizers. And organic farming. And this is the definition we made. But if you look at the definition very clearly, carefully, each word, we can see our great-grandparents used this. They were using it. So people ask the question all over the world, how our great-grandparents were healthier than us, because they applied only organic. And if you look at the organic history of organic, it started in India. The Britons sent the agronomist in 1935 to teach Indians how to apply chemical fertilizers. But he learned from India how to make compost. And this is a plantation which I'm showing. These are one of the plantations of Kerala state of India. We have this kind of plantations in many parts of India. So the crops which I'm presenting, they need this particular climate. If we can have tea plantations, we have high ranges, and we can cultivate these 3 crops. There are different species. Some of the species are cold hardy, but the one I'm presenting, not that hardy. Look at this. There are blueberries. There are 3 kinds of blueberries. The low bush in Alaska, cold regions. Then comes high bush and the rabbit eye. So these are the 2 species of blueberries we can cultivate in India. The high bush, you see, from 0 to 25. Even if it's warm, it can grow. It needs only mild cold. But the second one, there comes the rabbit eye, the 250 to 400. And the rabbit eye blueberry, 350. Of course, the last one, 350. We have 350 places, many places, 250 to 350. The rabbit eye is the best among all other blueberries, but we can have these 2 varieties and 2 species in India. The muscadine grapes, the only fruit identified so far that has an antioxidant that can prevent breast cancer. Before it was discovered, the price was very low and the price gone very high. And muscadine 1 pound in the US, $4. That is 1 kilogram, $10. 1 kilogram, 700 Indian rupees. And the pecan is another nut crop we can raise in India. We don't have much nuts. We have only peanuts and cashew nuts. And this pecan, the tree, the university where I'm working, that university was established in 1830. It going to complete 200 years after 10 years. The pecan trees planted in 1830, they are producing. I'll show you the trees. These are the worm castings, animal waste. So all compost can be converted. All kitchen waste can be converted into worm castings. And we have plenty of animal waste. We are number 1 in cattle production, number 1 in milk production, exporting milk and milk products to every part of the world. So we have plenty of cow manure. We can use effectively with the animal waste, what our great grandparents did. So we can do a lot. We can do wonders. And here come the fruit and nut-based agroforestry system that was also developed in Burma first. And we look at the Tongia system. So we have to go through the history and you can see still India has this program. So if we can practice the Tongia system using nut trees, especially cashew can be a very good nut tree, but it's cashew branches touch the ground, it won't give that much area to have other crops in between. Raising crops, trees on in wide spacing, 90 feet apart. In between the rows, we can raise the different crops. The Tongia system. In our study, we look at the CN ratio, carbon to nitrogen ratio. How much carbon, how much nitrogen the plant has. Looking at the carbon ratio, the last line you can see muscadine. The CN ratio is very high. And corn is 40:1. Most vegetables are less than 25:1. Looking at the carbon ratio, CN ratio, we can tell the crop is a soil conserving crop or a soil depleting crop. Most of the agronomic crops are soil conserving crops, but most of the horticulture crops are soil depleting crops because the CN ratio is low. And muscadine is high here. I'm not putting all, we have the information for so many crops. And look at the rule. These are major important regulation for organic agriculture in the US. And if you want to collaborate, if you want to export organic produce to other parts, I already discussed with the authorities. So if we are applying on vegetables touching the ground, the edible portion is touching the ground, we have to apply 120 days before the harvest, the animal waste, or 90 days before the harvest if it is not touching the ground. Manure has great program. You know, if you want applied inside the soil, it continues for almost 7 years. There's a research paper is published on that. And but India doesn't have that problem. If you are giving antibiotics to the plant, to the animals to keep them healthy, that animal waste has problem too. So that such animal waste should be composted for more than 30 days. Otherwise, it will have the problem. It goes to the next crop. And manures have so many benefits. I don't have to read all this. There are so many benefits there. And how to apply? This is the most important thing. How we are going to apply? Are we going to spray on the ground? It will pollute the system. Organic farming in the US, it has gone. This is a previous data, 2016. Now it is 48 billion. The US makes almost $48 billion from the organic farm produce. Say, this is a soil we use. Our soil is a major soil here in the world. It is silty and clay. Look, 93% silt and clay. It's a heavy soil. Many crops cannot be raised. So how we can raise horticulture crops in a heavy soil, silt and clay? And it covers almost 17% of the world's support the world population. And we use the composted cow manure and composted poultry manure. If we are using the fresh manure, use the rule which I mentioned about 120 days or 90 days. And we introduced several fruits, and these are the crops coming up in between the Tongia system, between the trees. So we introduced 102 varieties of melons from around the globe, and also 192 varieties of watermelons from around the globe. And whenever you apply cow manure on any melon crop, you can see the vitamin C goes high automatically. It goes immediately high. And we throw away. In many countries, they're burning. So this is one thing we have to stop, because this is the food. This is the major food items of our Mother Earth, the plant waste. If we throw away, we are burning. we are burning somebody's mother food. And here in the US, 24 million tons go to landfills. And we pay $65 per ton to put in the landfill. So $65 times 24, that is more than $1 billion US dollars in the spring season is going on all over the US. In several countries, if somebody is throwing away, you can see the calculation. We collected and did it, and it contains a lot of macro and micronutrients. So we should not throw away the mother's food. And medicinal properties of blueberries, look, it prevents stroke, it's a killer. Heart diseases, prevents. Lung cancer, another problem. The pollution is higher, so blueberry prevents all these problems. And then urinary infection in ladies. So in many countries, they don't have enough toilet facilities, so people may face problems. So blueberry is a great help for in such areas. And we use the animal waste and forestry, use the moldwood plow, and this goes very deep. We make a trench and use the pine bark because the blueberry needs the acid soil, very highly acidic, below 5.5. So we have to make the soil acidic, then only blueberry will grow. If you apply sulfur, it becomes acidic, but we don't want farmers to buy any chemicals. Sulfur is organic, but we want farmers to use the pine bark. Look, it works. So it's the gift of the nature, and it works. And here, first to make a trench using the moldwood plow, and inside of the trench, we put the pine bark, then row it up, and the row will be raised like this. You see the height. Then make holes, put the blueberry plant, and then put the again pine bark, then mulch with the pine needle. And pine needle has it is very high in CN ratio. See, 215. The corn plant is 40:1. And pine needle is 215. So it won't decompose. Even after 1 year, you can see it is there. So these kind of mulches can be utilized. Once it is mulched, then go on growing, because I like acid soil. The director of USDA, he was with me when we established in 2000. My blueberries are now it's 20 years old, still producing a lot. And each plant will produce 15 pounds. 1 pound, I told you, $10. One plant will give $150. 1 acre can have 726 plants. So we have visitors, they come and learn, we train them. And no need of pruning. And some of the blueberries, even this one, rabbit eye, you don't have to prune. But if you prune every June, July, the harvest time. The next month, we are supposed to start harvesting. Picking is very difficult. It's a time-consuming process. Many places it is pick your own. And you can look at the flavonoids, antioxidants, minerals, and vitamins. We can see it is highly medicinal. It is the second highest container of antioxidants next to blackberries. A lot of anthocyanins and flavonoids. And look at the blueberry. Our blueberry is 83% higher in vitamins in the vermicompost. We can make vermicompost. And local people are using. Actually, I bought the vermicompost from a local farmer, not a farmer. Somebody was making it home. I collected from there. I tested. I used that one. It's gone very high, 83% higher compared with the control is NPK. NPK is far down. Then comes the cow manure. We have plenty of cow manure in India, plenty. And I was invited because my blueberry is #1 in India for the Organic World Congress. I presented this paper in 2017 in Noida, Delhi. And comes the muscadine grapes, but it needs multiple harvests. Not like it's bunch grapes. The method applied is dry the cow manure in the shady area for a few days, then make basin. Inside of the basin, put the manure, and over the manure, apply dolomitic lime. The dolomitic lime contains calcium and magnesium. The fruit trees, they need more magnesium. Not only that, if you apply dolomitic lime, calcium and magnesium must be higher than calcium. So it reacts with the ammonia, the nitrogen coming from the animal waste. And then mulch it with the weathered materials. Don't apply the pine needle. You can apply pine needle if it is weathered. Otherwise, it will create acidity. Any plant waste. This is the system. The system, Geneva double cutter system, that gives the highest yield. Once established, we established in 1990. Look, still it is strong. It grows very well. It looks so beautiful. And mulch it. Then inside the mulch, the composting going on. because of the calcium and magnesium and the nitrogen, the materials inside will be converted into kidney stones. So it become a slow release, environmentally friendly manure. This is the muscadine grape bungia. This is 1/4 of the plant. The vine runs 20 feet wide. So from the main trunk, we can just the same bunch grape, we cultivate the same trellis system, and it produces a lot, and the sugar content is very high. Bunch grapes, the sugar content is only 14%, and this one goes up to 22%. If you drink the wine of this muscadine and blueberries, you will never drink any other wine. And blueberry wine is the best, the tastiest. And this is the fruit that prevents breast cancer. And the skin, they use more cereals. And the seed has more antioxidant than any other seed of any fruit in the world. Muscadine grapes. And we can cultivate, it needs very low chilling. And we also train farmers how to do the air layering, local methods for local farmers. They can make plants within 45, 50 days with rooted plants, and they take home. So we are training next month, every June, second Thursday, we have this program. We train them, they come here, we give them free food. It's used for making wreaths. They keep it on the door outside, it's a big business. And one wreath costs $20. They can make 400 from one plant. And antioxidant muscadine grapes, look at it prevents tumor formation in breast. And resveratrol, it is in grapes. All grapes, colored grapes they have, and flavonoids and polyphenols. In muscadine grapes, it is very skin's low sugar content. So here some companies already made and the persimmon is not in my presentation, but I'm just suggesting one of the crops we can raise all over India. It needs low chilling. And like wherever you cultivate, you can have the muscadine, the persimmons. It has more pectin than any other fruit. So it never permits. It never permits the plant never permit the intestine to absorb the cholesterol. The cholesterol will not go into the system. That is and I wanted to show you the pecan. These are the persimmon fruits. Persimmon, you can see, it prevents it absorbs the cholesterol. Cholesterol cannot get into the body. So that is one reason why we are recommending to avoid all kinds of stroke or blood pressure, all stuff it will take out. So people say the persimmons are the secret of the Japanese and Chinese people because this is their fruit. They produce a lot, eat a lot. Here comes agroforest system, fruit and nut based, and we are using pecan. We just started recently. And this is the pecan nuts. It's a huge tree. You can see behind this, the students' row. Look at behind the tree. The tree is standing there. That tree is 200 years old. There's another tree behind. The one single tree, you can see is going to complete 200 years after 10 years. Still, it produces a lot. It's in high demand, and 1 pound, $7 with the shell. Not like cashew, not without shell. With the shell, $7 in the US, 1 pound. So you can see the 2 pounds, 1 kilogram goes to $16, $17. And it has medicinal properties too. Look, the pecan. And come to the oleic acids. That also, it prevents breast cancer. There are different varieties, so we can select whatever varieties we need for raising. And sustainable farming system, and we can use the latest method of USDA, that is mulching the ground, make the holes. Instead of the hole, we put the manure, then we cover it, we mulch it, it grows. Even the same thing, in the holes, we put fertilizers and manures. We present the papers in different places, different countries. I was in India. I was invited to India in 2000. It was in 2011. You can see my university's name at the bottom. So it is like international. From my university, the information goes to 193 countries. So, and this one I present Anand, University of Agriculture, Anand, the medicinal crops. Recently I present in Brisbane. So we train people, they come here on muscadine and blueberries. And we have field day every second Thursday. Is coming up next month. And now people are coming forward to use animal waste, but otherwise animal waste was not utilized here. And switchgrass, This one grass I wanted to introduce, especially Rajasthan, in Gujarat, in Andhra Pradesh, semi-arid regions. And once it is planted, the root system goes 20 feet deep. You don't have to plant again. Go on cutting. It will come up. It's a very sturdy grass. It comes up very good. And the CN ratio is very high, 60:1. It will never decompose. At the same time, it is a good forage crop. It can be cultivated in the dry regions of India, prevent soil erosion. And our students are in high demand because they work on crops that prevent the soil erosion. And even the students are getting very high salary too in the US, and they are in high demand. Their salaries are higher than even assistant professor, that much salary. Starting salary for a student, $60,000, MS student, not PhD. So we have a collaboration program with we have an organization. These guys from Indian Embassy, Consul General Office, they also help us to disseminate information. And we are working with an organization, Indian American Chamber of Commerce. So I received this award from Dr. Karan Singh. I was so lucky. I'm a blessed person. And I just to show the tea plantation, because if you have this climate, we can have this program in India. We can distribute. It is a commitment. It's not that easy. It's a long-range program once it is done. So that is the end of my presentation. I'm ready for questions.
So, sir, there are some questions in the question and answer section.
Yeah. Can I have the questions?
Yeah, first one is, what are the challenges for adopting these crops in India and Southeast Asia?
Yeah, because that's a good question, because that is the question first people think how we can get it. Is it adapted here? Is it applicable? So all these questions may come when it comes to a new. But we have to think about that, certain things. For example, I can give an example, a simple example. For example, garlic, India and China were the biggest producers of garlic in the world for centuries. And garlic was introduced in the US few decades ago. Now in the US, US is the biggest producer of garlic in the world. So that is one a simple example I am giving. And same thing with the date palm. So in India, there are several areas. In those areas, we have to take that challenge to see. So start with the university can start with the few plants as a research program, just a small plots to see how they come up. A blueberry takes maximum 5 years into full production. Muscadine 5 years into full production. Pecans take 8 years to start producing. So we have to take the challenge now because of the international internet systems like Amazon. We can buy the plants from any part of the world. So we have to start with few varieties and make sure that any fruit crop, any of this you plant, even our Indian fruit trees, we need 2 different varieties. When we buy, we have to have 2 different varieties, and both the varieties should flower same time. That is the secret of fruit trees, the pomology, the fruit science. Any fruit tree, nut tree, when we grow, we have to make sure that we have 2 different varieties and they both should flower same time. So those are some of the basic things we should know when we start buying the plants.
We'll take 2 more questions. One is, what are the choice for intercropping in blueberry? This is one. And another one is, what are the processing prospects of these crops?
Yeah, the intercropping, as I mentioned, I showed one crop there, that is a hairy vetch, is a legume. Because these are cold hardy plants, the winter time comes, all these plants shed the leaves. The soil is exposed. But on both sides in the US, we put the lawn, the green lawn, the grass. But in between the rows, you can raise legumes, the winter legumes. We cannot put cowpea, the tropical legumes. But the hairy vetch I showed, it is a legume, it's a cold hardy, and we developed a technique, how to raise the cold hardy plants even the December time. So we have a plot, our students are doing thesis work. We sow the seeds, we raise the seedlings inside of the lab. Then we in the December time, it's so cold, if the temperature goes very down, very cold, then we put the sprouting seeds in the ground. But this one, the blueberry harvesting is over in July, August. So fall season, we can raise the hairy weight and it will continue growing the November, December, January time. We can clip it down. That is one crop. Then for processing, the muscadine and blueberries can be utilized for making jam, jelly, juice, wine, and vinegar. The vinegar from fruit is very, very expensive, more expensive than juice. So these are the items. Then the pecan, it's like cashew nut. It's a nut tree. It can be used to, people are making for using for pecan pies and all this, but we are encouraging people, don't make any pie or even jam jelly. We don't want people to cook the fruits, because fruits and nuts, as I mentioned, these are the only two food items, and we can consume without cooking. If we can make it juice or wine, the blueberry wine or muscadine wine, the alcohol-free wine, you can make it within 15-20 days.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Girish. I will request you to stop sharing your slides so that we can invite our second speaker into the session.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Chandan, will you put your microphone on in switch on mode? Yeah, our second speaker is Dr. Chandran Somasundram. He is the associate professor and renowned post-harvest biotechnologist attached to the Institute of Biological Science, University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He is currently coordinator of post-harvest biotechnology lab and chairman of institutional biosafety committee of University of Malaya. He is a regular keynote speaker for conferences and international symposiums of ISHS Belgium, particularly in Southeast Asia. He will be speaking on effects of 4 different drying methods on the antioxidant property of Moringa oleifera leaves. Sir, warm greetings, and we welcome you on behalf of the academic fraternity of Mizoram University to this webinar. You start your session.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Debashish. Nice to see you again. Thank you for having me share one part of my research with this group. Let me just put on my slides. Okay, is this visible?
It's visible.
Okay. The topic that I'm going to present today is effects of 4 drying methods on the antioxidant properties of Moringa oleifera leaves. There are 2 reasons for this. One is it's a very popular superfood now. And of course, every time a disease or something happens, people will look for natural cure. And Moringa has been in the market for quite a long time. And I know India consumes the drumstick as we do here in Malaysia as well. So we were interested in this for 2 reasons. One is you can see, if you just Google even, you will see hundreds of Moringa products as health supplement, and it's getting very popular now. What we were interested in is 2 things. One is how they produce this supplement, and whether and basically in most instances they produce this by just drying the leaf and then powdering them and putting them into capsules. There are most times no added compounds, so it's 100% natural, and it is without any additive, so it's supposed to be safe for consumption. We were in contact with the largest exporter of these capsules to Europe, and he has a farm in Kenya, and he was telling us that their entire drying process is just sun dried. And so what we were interested in is because towards the end of my presentation, I'll tell you why we are interested in this drying method. It's primarily because if you look at the content or the claims of these supplements, you will find that what they claim, the antioxidant capacity of their product, does not necessarily agree with the process upon which this is produced. So different drying methods have different outcomes of, so while they may be correct in the plant's capacity, when they process it and produce the capsule, the value is not as what it is claimed. The second reason, and as a post-harvest person, we were dealing with production and transportation, and we found that the longer it took between harvesting the leaves and putting them into process, the lesser the yield of the antioxidant or the good benefits that this plant capsules is supposed to have. So this is why we decided to test drying methods on the antioxidant properties of the moringa leaves. So just a brief introduction. This is something that we are all very common. This is a leaf that just got a lot of medicinal properties and has been documented for many years. And this leaf is often either consumed raw or dried and ground into fine powder. This is only when if it's consumed as a supplement. Of course, in traditional consumption, we either stir fry Indian style with coconut and consume it as a vegetable. And of course, that process takes away a lot of the antioxidant properties that this leaf actually has. But the methods that we employed, 4 different methods. One is drying, sun dry. Basically, we just put leaves on tray and leave it under the sun. And the second one is oven drying at 55 degrees Celsius. The third one is freeze drying using a commercial freeze dryer. And the fourth one is convective air drying. This is just a picture of the sun drying process. This is something that we developed in our own lab, this convective air dryer. This is actually, originally it was a clothes dryer. We just stripped it and rebuilt it. This is just a prototype picture, which has not been updated, but what it is it gives uniform drying, and it has got the ability to induce heat transfer using mechanical properties. But this is one of the drying methods that we employed, the convective air drying. As far as the antioxidant properties were concerned, we just used standard method. So we did the TAC using phosphomolybdenum method, the TPC using the following Chokalto, total flavonoid, and total alkaloid. On top of that, we also did a GCMS analysis of the aqueous solution. For this, we used 3 different methods for analysis. One is using powdered leaves in sterile water at a 1:10 ratio. The second one is powdered leaves also in sterile distilled water at a 1:10 ratio, but use 48 hours at room temperature, constant shaking. The first one is for 15 minutes. And the third one is also with a 1:10 ratio, but for 30 minutes. So the difference in the GCMS aqueous solution analysis was just on how long it sits in the solution. But in the end, it didn't matter because the results that we got were quite similar for all the 4 drying methods. So if you look at the results here, this is just a table to show you the values, but if you want to see highlights, this is the first one where you see that the total antioxidant capacity of the 4 different drying methods. You can see that the convective air dryer and the oven drying had higher TAC compared to fresh leaves, freeze dried, or sun dried. There was significant difference in the two. This was also similar to for TPC, where you find that the convective air drying and oven drying, so both are actually at about between 50 to 60 degrees Celsius dry, and they had demonstrated higher capacity in both phenolics and antioxidant. The flavonoids, you'll find that the results again were similar for the convective air drying and oven drying. So basically for the first 3, total antioxidant, total phenolic, and total flavonoid, the convective air dried and oven dried sample had the highest, and fresh sample had the lowest. This is for the 3rd one. And the 4th one, in alkaloid, you find that the fresh leaf retained higher alkaloid compared to the dried leaves. And if you look at the results in summary, so the lowest TPC was found in fresh leaves, probably caused by the degradation of the phenolic compounds by polyphenol oxidase. This enzyme could have been deactivated due to the low water content in leaves caused by drying. The least amount of TFC and TAC was found in the sun-dried and freeze-dried samples, and this could be due to prolonged drying time by a sun-drying. So sun-drying method obviously took the longest, and this where based on literature, we also found that cell wall integrity could have been severely compromised, leading to leakage of flavonoids or breakdown in chemical reaction involving the oxygen and enzymes. And fresh samples exhibited the highest scavenging activity, and this is consistent with what has been published so far. This is the pie diagram that shows the GCMS results. So we're looking at the phytochemical groups identified in the Moringa leaves basin. So this is a summary of all 4 drying methods, but it didn't change the percentage of constituents that you find in the drying method. So if you look at the, I'll show you this first. Okay, moving. Okay, let's go to this. Okay, sorry. A total of 119 types of compounds were identified using GCMS, and they were classified into esters, heterocyclic compounds, alcohol, carboxylic acid, ketones, phenolic compounds, alkanes, and so on. Based on the results, the major constituents were esters, heterocyclic compounds, alcohols, ketones, carboxylic acid, and phenolic compounds. So basically, these are the compounds that we identified in the. So what we were looking for in a while is that how to marry these results with the next part of our research, which we are currently doing. So in conclusion, for the first part, the results showed that the oven-dried samples showed the highest TPC, highest TFC, and TAC, together with convective air drying. Fresh samples had the highest DPPH scavenging activity, and highest alkaloid content as well. So we proposed that this be the prototype drying method could be useful because it gave us the best combination of antioxidant properties. Okay, so what we are currently working on now is how to use the so I currently work with my collaborator who has a stem cell therapy center, and they actually do an R&D on this, and they are looking for high antioxidant plant compounds to complement the stem cell therapy. At the moment, what they are looking at is wound healing, and because as soon as the stem cell is applied, they would want to have a natural high antioxidant layer that will cover the wound as the reaction is taking place. So this is the company that we work with, Cytonex. They are one of the three biggest stem cell companies in Malaysia, but they are the only one who actually does their own R&D to produce the mesenchymal stem cells, as opposed to most other companies that actually use recombinant. So we work on the grade P1 and P2 stem cells. So basically, they are, as the stem cells grow and differentiate, they go into 4 passage, passage 1 through, depending on how you do it, could be up to 5. What we have done is we have successfully isolated them and checked for their activity based on different passage. So most times when if you're reading about it and if you are looking at people's experience with stem cell therapy, they are injected with over 1 billion cells, sometimes up to 10 million. But in actual fact, if they are giving you a combination of the cells in different passage, they are not very useful. So we found that you need to isolate them into different passage and then only administer the dose so that you get the right effect. So a lot of times for the use of natural compounds has been for toxicology, clinical research, biopesticide, natural coloring, drug discovery. What we have done so far is on wound healing, and it has produced some good results with it. So these are some of the publications, not ours, but that actually supports the use of antioxidant therapies for wound healing, and also using the use of moringa, this aspect in this page, as high wound healing properties. So if you combine this with stem cell therapy, we are confident of getting good results with wound healing. And this is the first part of it. The second part of it, of course, is we're also looking at combination of this antioxidant and looking at the active phytochemical ingredient in terms of its use in exosomes, which is also a byproduct of the stem cell, and how it can be used for other forms of therapy. So these are basically just some parts of the work that we are doing. A lot of these are still in pre-clinical trial, and at the moment, the wound healing part is reasonably successful. The other aspects are still currently ongoing. So I'll leave you with that for now, and I'll be happy to answer questions on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chandran. One important question that is, why this convective air drying or this oven drying perform better in terms of keeping antioxidant and flavonoids than even the fresh or the freeze drying method?
I think it's just the temperature control. What we found because we were basically comparing the oven dried at 55 to convective at 60. And with convective air drying, you get an airflow which circulates the air, and that keeps the the heat consistent within the chamber, as opposed to the oven. So that's why the results seem to be a bit more favorable for the convective air drying. But in terms of freeze drying, I think the answer to that is because of it's whether you use heat or cold to suppress the enzyme activity. And there are different results with publication. And I think with different plants, we find that sometimes freeze drying is better as compared to oven or convective air drying. So at the moment, we really can't tell whether it's plant specific or whether it's just the way the enzymes react to different temperatures.
So for the large scale processing units or the commercialization of this technique, so this conventional air drying is currently being used in the industry level, or it is still in the lab scale?
It's in the lab scale, but it's a prototype. But at the moment, we are still waiting for the industry to do the upscaling.
So what are the basic method followed by the industry nowadays for doing this drying?
Exporters are all using sun-dry because that's the fastest, not say fastest, that's the biggest volume you can do to meet demands. Otherwise, they can't. Because the other ones, you have to go through the process of taking turns of putting trays into your oven and coming out with it. But with sun drying, of course, if you get, it's very weather dependent. But if you remember, Dr. Dibashi, Dr. George was telling us how they did the sun drying with solar panels in Southeast Asia, Vietnam. And so that's one of the other ways that they do so that they don't get to depend on weather.
Well, Professor Girish, you have any question to Chandran? You unmute yourself. Sir, you unmute yourself.
Can you see me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, Moringa is coming here in powdered form from, I think, from Philippines. In Walmart, you can see dried, sun-dried, the one you mentioned now, dried form is coming here. Moringa is becoming a big produce. They are mixing with the coffee, tea, and drinking.
But what we heard from the exporter from Kenya who does it to Europe is, he said because of how they process it, the recommended dose is swallowing up to 10 to 12 capsules per day. And they said no matter how you prepare it, it's quite difficult to get the bitter taste off. So the challenge now is they are trying to see if we can isolate the active ingredient into liquid form, and then you just add it into your coffee and then drink it. That's what they're trying to work on. But it's so difficult because there's so many compounds that they isolated. We don't know in what combination and how to add them to make it look like it will be the best, to overcome that. Because it does require a very high dose to actually give you the benefit that it's supposed to give you.
Do it have any additives which can increase the bioavailability of it? Like in curcumin, piperine is used to enhance the bioavailability. So
I'm sure they can, but what most people are trying to look for is no additives. They want it to be 100% natural, pure from that crop only. That's why the current process is just take the leaf dry, grind it, and put into the capsule straight away. No other process involved.
Okay. Okay, so we don't have any more question for the time being. So in the vote of thanks, it's our privilege to have Professor Girish Panikkar and Dr. Chandran Somasundaram as speaker for the webinar. We thank you very much. We are grateful to our visionary Vice Chancellor of the university for conceptualizing this timely event and consistently guiding us. We are thankful to the deans of different schools, head of the departments, colleagues of Mizoram University. We are delighted to give thanks for the support of the ICT section of Mizoram University for their back-end IT support. And finally, our hearty thanks for all the participants for making this webinar successful. Lastly, based on the live participation recorded by the Zoom webinar database, participation certificate. I thank you very much on behalf of my university and the Department of Horticulture, Aromatic and Medicinal Plants. Thank you all.
Thank you.